We are the founders of the Open Window.
What's important to really understand is therapy is a finite resource.
They do have to go through so much themselves to show up and be present in a session.
If we undervalue the people holding emotional crises, we can't be surprised when the system can't hold everyone.
We start noticing these signs and making an environment that actually cares about this, cares about the mental well-being of their employees.
Is mental health a culture or is it just a campaign today?
I think the real innovation isn't in choosing between mission and money, but building models where good care is good business.
AI doesn't have the humanity that a human has. Is it profitable? Yes, it is. Hi, I'm Janice.
And I'm Rowena.
And we are the founders of the Open Window. A little bit about me. I love sunflowers. I think that's the only flower I like. I love food, and if you follow me, I run this series called Breakfast at Jan's, which then became Lunch at Jan's and then Dinner at Jan's, but I love food, if you get that point. And tell about you.
I have a huge sweet tooth. You'll always find me with cold coffee in my hand or just having had a cold coffee. I love painting and arts and crafts.
Why is getting therapy harder than getting a reservation at a pickleball court?
I think it's so funny that you asked me that because I promise I've been asked that by my friends. But I think the gap comes in the fact that we've normalized conversations around mental health faster than we've built the infrastructure to be able to support those conversations. What's important to really understand is therapy is a finite resource. And when I say that, I mean that a particular therapist only has so many hours to give, right, in a day for therapy. Now that combined with organizations having a limited pool of therapists means slots anyway dwindle. I think another concern that is really important to understand when we talk about limited slots in therapy in general is that therapists are not doing only therapy. They're expected to do a lot of other admin work. Note taking is part and parcel of therapy, but apart from that, therapists are creating workshops, they're facilitating workshops, they're doing account management, they're doing marketing, which means all of these things take up precious time that could be used for therapy in general. Apart from this, I think what the system right now lacks, because of which slots in general become less and less available, is that there is no forecasting of demand. As organizations grow, we should be able to look at what the demand for therapy has been in the past, let's say 6 months, year, and based on that, be able to hire therapists that will be able to match that demand going further, right? What usually happens is more and more clients keep coming in, and the same few therapists are being allocated new clients. So not only now are their slots dwindling, they're also stressed and burnt out.
Why does therapy feel like a dating app experience? So many options but no match in sight.
I think that's because I feel like whoever I've spoken to and the experience they've shared with me, they do try a bunch of therapists. They sometimes struggle to find the right fit with their first therapist, and very few actually think of, oh, let me go to the second one. Let me try a third one. I think even me, I took maybe a year before I tried my second therapist as well. This was like when I was studying. But I think when I look at it from a mental health organization perspective, I do know that how therapists are assigned to clients is usually from who's available, who's the most convenient one, maybe depending on the charges, depending on the rates, but it's very less depending on the suitability of the therapist to a client. So when a client reaches out, let's say they're looking to work on anxiety or they're looking to work on relationship issues, it usually is the first available therapist versus who is the right fit for the client. So I think that's something that really makes it harder to find you the right therapist, and maybe that's why it feels like a dating experience.
Would you say then that therapy is very similar to your dating app experience, where you start all over again with, hey, this is me, I'm so and so, I like XYZ, again and again in the quest to find the perfect match?
I think it's important to acknowledge that repetition is not just admin work, right? Repeating your whole life story to a new therapist every single time is not just admin work. It's not just for your therapist to understand where you're coming from. It's extremely emotionally taxing for the client as well.
Would you say that the organization culture has a role to play in ensuring that there's continuity of therapy for a client?
Absolutely. In an organization, when the culture is married with the fact that mental health is important, therapy is important, it works both ways, right? From the therapist perspective, if therapy is important, therapists will get more time to do the job that they've been hired to do, which is therapy. Which means if you keep your therapists happy, continuity of care exists in your scenario because your therapist may not leave as often, you may not have that churn as often, your attrition rates might be much lower. And from the client's perspective, it's always great, right? When you spend time matching the right therapist to the right client, that fit is so important. I think therapy in general is all about the rapport that the therapist has with their client. For a lot of the deeper work to happen, that rapport building is extremely important, for which the client has to also feel like this is a therapist that understands their needs. This is a therapist that works with the concerns that they've come with. And because of that, that fit is very important. So when your organization's culture is married with the fact that mental health is important, when your culture believes that mental health is important, some of these concerns go away because as an organization, you make the active intentional effort to work on that.
Do you think therapists can hold space for others when they have none for themselves?
I do think therapists do hold space for others, but it's not really sustainable. They do have to go through so much themselves to show up and be present in a session. But when they are having long, tiring weeks, like I think for me as well, there were continuous weeks where I was pushing myself, juggling a bunch of roles and still showing up for my clients. And I know it took a lot from me. It was super effortful and I would be so exhausted by the end of the day. So do they hold space? I personally know a lot of therapists and they hold so much space for their clients. I know that they think about their well-being. They spend a lot of time even post-work hours to just think about, what are some things they can do. They do reach out for spaces like supervision and talk to other therapists as well. But I do feel like for us, we need to care about our therapists a lot more. We need to build a supportive environment where they feel cared for, they feel taken care of, they feel like they are important as well and not just them taking care of their clients. So that could look like professionally, maybe more financial stability, better supervision spaces, peer supervision spaces, access to these spaces. I think that's something that's genuinely lacking now. And from a personal side, maybe just paying for therapy for them, having these provisions where they don't have to worry about, do I have enough money to pay for my therapy, pay for my bills, or pay my loans. I think just giving them these spaces would be really helpful.
Is it a problem that a therapist does not get paid well as much as a doctor or someone working in tech?
Personally, for personal reasons, I believe yes. But in general, I do think it is an issue. You expect therapists to hold the complexities of so many different minds, but you expect to pay them only for a conversation. That's what usually people say about therapy, right? They look at it as a conversation rather than a treatment plan. As therapists also, to ask for the kind of money that you would expect from years of practice, from years of education, creates an ecosystem where there is burnout because of lack of financial stability in therapists. It also stops people from entering the field, right? If people know that they have to study for 7 years to get their degree, and then the minute they enter the field, they're going to be undervalued and paid less, I'm wondering why people are going to want to enter this field. I think it's very important to acknowledge that because the results of therapy are invisible, and when I say invisible, I mean when a surgeon goes in for a surgery, the results are very clear, right? With therapy, the process is pretty gradual. It's relational. Growth is most times not linear, right? It takes time to outgrow patterns and root newer ones, which is why I think a lot of people, when they can't see the kind of tangible results they would see with someone that works in tech or someone like a doctor, they undervalue the work that therapists do. And I think that creates a very dangerous ecosystem for people entering the field and also for clients, right? Because if we undervalue the people holding emotional crises, we can't be surprised when the system can't hold everyone.
Is work from home a scam to do the least amount of work?
I don't think so. I think work from home is maybe the way in which I would show care to my employees. When I think about work from home and how convenient it is, it does help me juggle a lot of things that I'm doing in my day-to-day life, but also show up for my clients, manage my back-end work, do a lot of my things at a pace that I would prefer, at a pace that works for me and for the people I work with. From an employer's perspective, they're looking at productivity, they're looking at honesty from their employees, and they're looking for good work, good qualitative work. And from an employee's perspective, they want to have a chill, relaxing work day, not feeling super stressed, not feeling like they need to really show up at work, be on time, log in, log out. So when we look at work from home coming in the middle of this, especially post-COVID, I think we've gotten so much more comfortable with finding a rhythm with work from home. From an employee's perspective, I think it also really helps for a company to know that they can trust you, to know that they know the work you're doing, they know you care about the work you're doing or how you want to show up at work. So I think it's on the employee to make the employer feel like you can be trusted.
Can you measure mental health the same way you measure profit?
I think we would want to, because that's how most companies function. They want to check if we can quantify what mental health of their employees look like. But I do feel like we can genuinely see the impact it has on organizations, the growth of the organization. We can look at burnout rates, attrition rates, just how much they're engaging or just sitting on their work desk and, moving up, sitting and then leaving back, right? So I think these are certain human signals that we show to say that the mental health of the organization, of their employees is deteriorating, but we can genuinely see these signs. And if we start noticing these signs and making an environment that actually cares about this, cares about the mental well-being of their employees, then we can actually make this a better space.
Is mental health a culture or is it just a campaign today?
I want to say culture, but I think I'm leaning more towards campaign at this point in our collective mental health journey, because I think what I personally have noticed and seen is that I see a lot of mental health conversation happening at a superficial level, which is you see a lot of content around mental health on social media. You see a lot of conversations around mental health on World Mental Health Day. A lot of it is done for visibility spikes, right? But if it were at a culture level, it would show up in our behavior, in the way we act towards each other, the way we think about each other, right? I think in terms of language, we've normalized the language around mental health, but I don't see a lot of that change also transferring to action. I think if I could give you an example, I think we tell people that it's okay to go for therapy, but families are still hesitant to talk about a family member in therapy. We're still hesitant to consistently support someone who is in therapy, right? When it becomes a part of your culture, you don't worry about what someone else is going to say because it's a part of their culture as well. I also think in general, when it becomes a part of our culture, it is also included in insurance policies, in workplaces, in mental health leaves. More companies would be giving you mental health leaves if it was a part of our culture at this point in time. But there's very few companies that are recognizing this.
Janice, can there exist an Uber in the mental health space?
I believe something bigger than Uber can exist. And I think that's because just the convenience of having a space, an app, a website where I could reach out to and get a well-suited therapist for me from anywhere in the world. Just for me, when I think of how technology has really helped me as a therapist, I take sessions with my clients who sit out of New York, who sit out of Dubai, who sit out of Australia. And that just helps because in a week, I am reaching out to so many clients who are sometimes Indians who want someone who's same cultural context and understand them and understand what they're going through so much better. And technology did that for me. With technology, it can really help us scale up. But what is something that I see is missing? A company that has great leadership, someone who can actually bridge the gaps that are in the society when we're talking about all the things we've spoken about, therapists, what they require, clients, and the fact that they're not able to find someone. When we think about building something like Uber in the mental health space, we want an app that actually is available for clients on their fingertips, something that they could access and find the right fit for them. This business model is extremely scalable, has great demand, high growth potential, and is it profitable? Yes, it is.
Is mental health a mission or is it a viable business?
It has to be both, right? Because a purely mission-oriented organization will risk scale and sustainability. A purely business-oriented organization risks commodifying care. Then the problem becomes cyclical of all the things that we spoke about attrition, about lack of slots, about burnout. I think the real innovation isn't in choosing between mission and money, but building models where good care is good business.
Are policymakers like Internet Explorer in an AI era when it comes to mental health?
I feel like mental health awareness has really spread, and a lot of people are reaching out for mental health treatment, but there is still a lack with respect to how the system can support us in this process.
And because of this lag, I feel like mental health is more often than not looked at as reactive rather than preventative. We're building solutions for 2026 based on policies written for 2006.
Are we solving for mental health or are we just managing demand?
Solving for mental health would actually look like preventative systems, right? I think true solving for this would look like early access to mental health, community-based care, and reduced need for crisis intervention, right? Because people would have been taking help or getting help at a very grassroots level.
Is the system broken or is there a strong opportunity to build it better?
I wouldn't say broken, but I do see tiny gaps. And those tiny gaps, they're not always tiny. I think when I'm thinking about gaps in the system, there maybe accessibility comes into it, therapist burnout, client burnout. So there's just so many things that I see as tiny gaps, but I look at that as opportunities to rethink, to refix them. And as a change maker who wants to build these gaps, who wants to bridge these gaps, I do see so much opportunity, so much potential to work through these.
This video is actually eating up a lot of my arts and crafts time, so can we wrap it up?